Hi, welcome to the channel. Today is the first day of the 12th chapter, that is how scientists use the subconscious mind. Let's start. Many of the most creative scientists in the history have realized the true importance of the subconscious mind. Edison, Marconi, Einstein, and many others have used the subconscious mind to give them the insight and the know-how to bring about their great achievements. The ability to bring into action the power of subconscious mind is one of the most important factors in determining the success of great scientific and research workers. One of the most amazing examples of this can be found in the life of the celebrated chemist Frederick von Staudenitz. He had been struggling for a long time to understand the chemical structure of the hydrocarbon called benzene. This is a compound that contains 6 atoms of carbon and 6 of hydrogen. Staudenitz was constantly perplexed by the problem. All his efforts seemed to lead nowhere. Unable to solve the riddle, tired and exhausted, Staudenitz turned the matter over completely to his subconscious mind. Shortly afterward, as he was about to board a London bus, his subconscious presented his conscious mind with a sudden flash. In his mind, Staudenitz saw the image of a snake biting its own tail and turning around like a pinwheel. This message from his subconscious mind inspired him to orient his search in different direction. Soon he arrived at the long sought answer, the circular arrangement of atoms that is known as the benzene ring. How a distinguished scientist brought forth his inventions. Nikola Tesla was a brilliant pioneer in the field of electricity. The Tesla coil, an exhibit in scientist museums that is always a favorite with children, was only one of his inventions. This is a charged metal sphere. When someone touches it, the static electricity makes his or her hair stand straight up. Tesla also experimented with the concept of broadcasting energy. His ideas on this topic are still considered revolutionary. Tesla was a convinced use, user of the power of the subconscious mind. Whenever he had an idea for a new invention or a new research direction, he would build it up in his imagination, then turn it over to his subconscious mind. He knew that his subconscious mind would reconstruct and reveal to his conscious mind all the parts needed for its manufacture in concrete form. Through quietly contemplating every possible improvement, he wasted no time on correcting defects. He was able to give the technicians working with him the perfect end product of his mind. In an interview, he said, invariably, my device works as I imagined it should. In 20 years, there has not been a single exception. How a famous naturalist solved his problem. Professor Louis Agassiz of Harvard University was one of the most distinguished American naturalists of the 19th century. He discovered the great powers of his subconscious mind while he slept. The following example comes from a biography of Agassi written by his widow. He had been for 2 weeks striving to decipher the somewhat obscure impression of fossil fish on the stone slab in which it was preserved. Weary and perplexed, he put his work aside at last and tried to dismiss it from his mind. Shortly after, he waked one night, persuaded that while asleep he had seen his fish with all the missing features perfectly restored. But when he tried to hold and make fast, the escaped him. Image it escaped him. Nevertheless, he went early to the Jardin des plants, thinking that on looking anew at the impression he sound see something which would put him more on the track of his vision. In vain, the blurred record was as black as ever. The next night he saw the fish again, but with no more satisfactory result. When he awoke, it disappeared from his memory as before, hoping that the same experience might be repeated on the third night. He placed a pencil and paper beside his bed before going to sleep. Accordingly, toward morning, the fish reappeared in his dream confusedly at first, but at last with such a distinctness that he had no longer any doubt as to its geological characters. Still half dreaming in perfect darkness, he traced these characters on the sheet of paper beside at the bedside. In the morning, he was surprised to see in his nocturnal sketch features which he thought it impossible the fossil itself should reveal. He hastened to the Jardin des Plantes and with his drawing as a guide succeeded in chiseling away the surface of the stone under which portions of the fish proven to be hidden. When wholly exposed, it corresponded with his dream and his drawing, and he succeeded in classifying it with ease. How an outstanding physician solved the problem of diabetes. In the 1920s, Dr. Frederick Batting, a brilliant Canadian physician and researcher, focused his attention on the ravages of diabetes. At that time, medical science offered no effective method of arresting the diabetes. Dr. Banting spent considerable time experimenting and studying the international literature on the subject, but every path he exposed seemed to be a dead end. One night, exhausted by still another long day of what seemed to be wasted efforts, he fell asleep. While he lay sleeping, his subconscious mind instructed him to extract the residue from the degenerated pancreatic duct of dogs. This inspiration led him to the discovery of insulin, which has helped countless millions of people since. You will note that Dr. Banting had been constantly dwelling on the problem of some time, seeking a solution or way out. His subconscious responded accordingly. It does not follow that you will always get an answer overnight. The answer may not come for some time. Do not be discouraged. Keep on turning the problem of every night to the subconscious mind prior to sleep as if you had never done it before. If you continue to experience a delay in arriving at a solution, maybe you are thinking of the question you are presenting to your subconscious mind as a major one that will take a long time to solve. This would not be surprising. We usually tempted to believe our problems are difficult. If they weren't, they wouldn't be problems. However, this is a mistake. Your subconscious mind is timeless and spaceless. Go to sleep believing you have the answer now. Do not postulate that the answer will have to wait to come in the future. Have an abiding faith in the outcome. Become convinced now as you read this book that there is an answer and perfect solution for you. How a scientist escaped from a Soviet concentration camp. Dr. Luther von Blank Smith, an outstanding electronics engineer, was locked up in a Soviet prison camp during World War II. He credits his survival and eventual escape to freedom to the powers of his subconscious mind. I was a prisoner of war in a coal mine in Russia, and I saw men dying all around me in that prison compound. We were watched over the brutal guards, arrogant officers, and sharp, fast-thinking conjurers. After a short medical checkup, a quota of coal was assigned to each person. My quota was 300 pounds per day. In case any man did not fill his quota, his small food ration was cut down, and in a short time he was resting in the cemetery. I started concentrating on my escape. I knew that my subconscious mind would somehow find a way. My home in Germany was destroyed, my family wiped out, all my friends and former associates were either killed in the war or were in concentration camps. I said to my subconscious mind, I want to go to Los Angeles and you will find the way. I had seen pictures of Los Angeles and I remembered some of the uh, boulevard, every well boulevard very well, as well as some of the buildings. Every day and night, I would imagine I was walking down Wilshire Boulevard with an American girl whom I met in Berlin prior to the war. She is now my wife. In my imagination, we would visit the stores, ride buses, and eat in the restaurants. Every night, I made it a special point to drive my imaginary American automobile up and down the boulevards of Los Angeles. I made all this vivid and real. These pictures in my mind were as real and as natural to me as one of the trees outside the prison camp. Every morning, the chief guard would count the prisoners as they were lined up. He would call out 1, 2, 3 extra, and when 17 was called out, which was my number in sequence, I stepped aside. In the meantime, the guard was called away for a minute or so, and on his return, he started by mistake on the next man as number 17. When the crew returned in the evening, the number of men was the same, and I was not missed, and the discovery would take a long time. I walked out of the camp um, undetected and kept walking for 24 hours, resting in a deserted town the next day. I was able to live by fishing and killing some wildlife. I found coal trains going to Poland and traveled on them by night. Until finally I reached Poland. With the help of friends, I made my way to Lucerne, Switzerland. One evening at the Palace Hotel, Lucerne, I heard a talk with a man and his wife from the United States of America. This man asked me if I would care to be a guest at his home in Santa Monica, California. I accepted the and when I arrived in Los Angeles, I found that their chauffeur drove me along Wilshire Boulevard and many other boulevards which I had imagined so vividly in the long months in the Russian coal mines. I recognized the buildings which I had seen in my mind so often. I actually seemed as if I had been in Los Angeles before. I had reached my goal. I will never cease to travel at the wonders of the subconscious mind. Truly, it has ways we know not of. How archaeologists and paleontologists reconstruct ancient scenes. Your subconscious mind has a memory of everything that has never happened in the history of our species. Archaeologists, archaeologists are studying ancient ruins and the countless artifacts left by the countless artifacts left by the people of former cultures can put imaginative perception to marvelous use in their work. Their subconscious mind can aid them in reconstructing ancient scenes. The dead past becomes alive once more. Looking at the fragments of these ancient buildings and studying the pottery, statuary, tools, and household utensils of earlier civilizations, the scientist is able, through the common data banks of the universal mind, to know how, when, and why these objects were created. The keen concentration and disciplined imagination of the scientist awakens the latent powers of the subconscious mind. This gives him the ability to clothe the ancient structures with roofs and surround them with gardens, pools, and fountains. The fossil remains are clothed with eyes, sinews, and muscles, and they again walk and talk. The past becomes the living present, and we find that in mind there is no time or space or space. Through disciplined control and directed imagination, you can be a companion of the most scientific and inspired thinkers of all time. Okay, we will start how to receive guidance from your subconscious in the next session. Okay, if you are new on the channel, subscribe the channel and press bell icon so that you will get notification about new video upload. Don't forget to like and share. And the other thing, you can visit our blog, the www.audiobigdeveloper.blogspot.com. From here you can go through books like The Magic of Thinking Big and The $100 Startup, chapter wise and day wise. Okay, by uh, investing 15 to 20 minutes, you can learn everything in the book. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.